well,
Cheese, the cheese factory and all that.
thought it was the ice cream.
This looks like non-sufficient funds. Check.
Yeah, it is the
Ice cream.
National Financial
Anyways,
Services.
long
And
arm.
it looks like NF.
One of the papers that said.
Oh, I'll have to clarify that.
We are live.
Yeah. All right, I'll call the November 14th meeting of the IDA to order. We all, as usual, have a copy of our last board meeting minutes. I'll give you a minute to inspect those. There are no additions or corrections or questions. I'll entertain a motion to accept the board meeting minutes. Do I have such a motion?
So,
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We also have a copy of the United Church.
nobody will know who we are.
Let's have a roll call first. Scott, you're the leader.
Okay, Scott Gardner, Wyoming County IDA staff.
Jennifer Tishka, IDA staff. Robin Marshallek, IDA staff.
Jim Pierce, IDA staff. Jim Rutowski, IDA board.
Doug Burwanger, IDA board.
Mark Dad, IDA board.
Nicole Hastings, IDA board.
Joe Gozowski, IDA board.
Kevin Zanner, IDA counsel.
As I started to say, we have the financial report and last round to point out everything that's unusual
Thank you, Chairman.
for this discussion.
So we started out the month with 84,971 in cash and a little over 2 million in invested funds. We brought in quite a bit on CD interest earned and the fees earned. And then where it says other receipts, says return NFS check, that's not non-sufficient funds or anything like that. That's that was the National Financial Services. It's a contribution check that Jim sends into the IRA, but there was some issues with it. There was a check that was lost and it had to get redone by the payroll company. So I just saw that, thought they're gonna think this is not sufficient funds. But anyway, so as far as our expenses, we had our typical expenses, our lease, conference and training was from the NICEC meeting in September. Some legal expenses and the payroll. We ended up the month with 201,343 cash on hand and 1,881,549 in invested funds. You look over on the back, we're about 75% through the year, so you can see where we are percentage wise with our budget and what we have left.
With the anticipation, some revenue will be coming in from Alec. If you keep your fingers crossed.
Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain the motion to accept the financial report as submitted. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jim, I'll ask you to talk to us about action item 3A.
Sure. So as many people know, Bennington's been working on a solar law, but prior to drafting their solar law, they had approved a solar project, and it was for the New York Bennington 1 LLC. It is a little over 2 megawatt community solar facility on 15 acres of land that's owned by Terry Halstead, near the corners of Church and Tinkham Road in the town of Bennington. The total capital cost is anticipated to be $4.8 million. They've asked for IDA inducements. At the last board meeting, the board authorized us, since the IDA incentives were going to be greater than 100,000, to do a public hearing. Robin and I held a public hearing in Bennington for the project. Those minutes are in the packet along with kind of a cost benefit analysis. No one showed up for the public hearing, so I don't have any public comments, even though you drive down almost any road in Bennington and it's like keep Bennington beautiful, no solar,
And then what's other?
no one showed up.
There you go.
So,
Jim, this is actually a done project.
but, pardon?
It's a pretty well done project.
Yeah, all the local approvals have been done and it's queued up and ready to go. So it's gone through the secret process. The town was the lead agent on the secret process.
To do prior, but I like to talk against that because being on the farmland protection board,
Mhm.
that's the issue. We do, personally, I got numerous letters for similar projects. I never answered one yet, no intention on it. And some of this land isn't, I can't say what you rate land from 1 to 10. But the land rates anywhere from 6, some of it rates down to 4. So it is very usable property for agriculture. And if it's a done deal, it's a done deal. But I'm not personally in favor of these issues. Sitting in a farmland protection board, that's what we're there for. My opinion, amen.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You put your feelings on record as well, Joe. We have home rule law here in New York State, and if the municipalities want to approve a project in their town, they have the right to do that. I understand your concern, and they did it.
From what I understand, the landowner is gonna continue to have sheep in the field, so it's still gonna be used for
Keep the grass out.
pasture, or was using it, yep.
Can't use goats, they jump too much.
Yeah.
But the sheep.
That's right. You couldn't fix it. Okay.
Moving on, so the cost benefit analysis, that we put it through the model from the MRB group. Shows the total tax exemptions of about $60,000 for the project. And that includes both the local and the state portions. There's a mortgage recording tax exemption of about $50,000, and then there's a property tax break on the project as well. So the total incentives are in the neighborhood of $462,600. So given the fact that the local approvals have been done, we are still waiting to get an executed copy of the community host agreement so we can verify that they follow the IDA's 80-20 formula in terms of splitting up the dollar value per megawatt. The resolution that council prepared in the package, and it actually addresses that as well. So if the board chooses to approve this project, I would more than likely hold back on issuing the project agreement and the sales tax exemption until we have a signed host agreement. Once we have that, we'll turn them loose and so they can do the project. I was telling Kevin, a lot of these energy projects are trying to do a lot of site work now with the trees and things because the windows opened up where the protection for the long-eared northern bat is not in jeopardy. So I don't know where they go in October. They must go to Florida or someplace. But
Somebody's had.
someone's had- well, they go to a cave.
Yes, I know all about that.
So that's why this project is starting to take off, and it's why the Alley Cat project is starting to take off, because that window has been open for them to be able to remove those trees without any environmental complications. So as the board knows, our fee is 1%, and they pay for our council fees. We have always typically asked for, it's in our policy now, thanks to the board, 20% down on a project before we issue the project agreement and sales tax exemption, and 20% down on the attorney costs. We have not yet received that. So that's another reason to hold back the sales tax exemption. But if the approvals are done, we hold the cards and say, here's some things that we need, and once we have them, you're good to go. So I guess, Mr. Chairman, we need a kind of a motion if the board support is there for this project.
We will need another action from the board, right?
We only authorized the public hearing, so we need actually formal approval of the project. As I said, there is a resolution that council put together in the packet. Pretty hefty packet. We have a 10-year pilot on it. 20.
You see, there's a resolution.
Resolutions to the back.
That's. Well. It's on the back. It's on the back of the page.
These front to back things always kind of goofy.
Oh, maybe it's after the application. Oh, yeah, it's after the application. It's so it's kind of in the middle, it's after the.
Yeah.
Hands
I'll
on
get
page.
it.
Starts on page one.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's page one of the resolution, so yeah. Something after the
Everybody got a chance
signed
to
application.
look at it. Entertain a motion to approve the resolution as submitted by council. By such motion. We'll move.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This matter is action item 3B, which is a request from the Red Act. And once again, I'll ask Jim to outline that situation.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've been working probably on and off for about a year with the folks at Elitzak over in Castile. The building they're in for their retail operation, as well as their rental equipment business, and lumber warehouses, are very old. They would like to replace the majority of them, and so they're gonna build new, and then eventually demolish all the existing buildings.
All the existing.
Primarily the retail business where they are, where all the stuff started. It's a total of almost $7 million project. The business is owned by Pam, who's primarily it's a woman-owned business. Bill, her husband, is involved with the business, and now their younger son Brad is also involved with the business. So we have a next generation in there, and they are hoping to set some things up nice for Brad to kind of take over the operation as they move forward. They're thinking by the expansion, they'll be able to create 8 new jobs. One of the things that we talked with council about is the project is kind of retail in nature. And as you know, the IDAs are prohibited from working with retail projects unless there is a project that's considered an essential goods and service business, but it's not available locally, which in this case there is not. The other case that can be made is this project, even though it's retail, is located in a highly distressed census tract, which then makes it eligible for IDA help as well. So I think after speaking with council earlier today, we probably will go down the essential goods and service route for this project, which will mean we will need a sign off from the town, is it town supervisor or the village mayor?
It's whoever the municipality is, so if it's the village, yes.
It would be I think it's in the village.
In the building.
Yeah, it is.
So I will have to track down Mr.
Yeah.
Washburn.
I would say that, you know, that if you also qualify under the distress census tract, you might as well approve them under both. And I think when if the board moves forward with the public hearing and you approve it next month, the resolution would cover whatever we can fit into under the retail exceptions. So we can talk about that after, Jim, but I think that would be a strong argument as well under the statute, those are permissible.
But it's a nice little project. They employ 21 people. There's not a lot of businesses in Castile, so this would kind of set them up for sustainability moving forward. And again, it's kind of an essential goods business that's not available in and around the area. There's a breakdown of the costs for the building and site work and stuff on page 7 of the application. The cost benefit calculator shows that the property tax exemption over the course of I think we're gonna look at 10 years on this for a pilot. It's $146,000 for the property tax, and the sales tax exemption will be 89,000, almost 90,000. And then the mortgage recording tax exemption of 16,450. It's not a huge project, but in the eyes of Castal and this company, I think it is a huge project.
What's the qualifications for the underdeveloped? I don't know how you phrase it.
The highly distressed community is based on poverty numbers, things of that nature, and the state, tries to become a little more flexible and being able to serve the business community in those areas to encourage business growth. So the total estimated incentives are going to be $252,000, which is greater than the 100,000 threshold. So we are looking for authorization from the board today to hold a public hearing. And usually the village clerk over in Castal fixes it up really good for that public hearing. So. What would be the issue at New York State? We approved it, they went ahead with the project and then audit us. 4 years. I guess.
You want me to address that?
Yeah, I think we that.
Jim, so if this, what we would do here, the resolution is paper it so that it's consistent with what the state allows. So while the state law says you can't do retail projects, there are clear exceptions under the statute. This is one of those projects that would be an exception, and we would be clear in our authorizing resolution that we looked at that and we have that, and then we're following the rule on that. So this isn't a loophole. We're certainly going to paper it properly, but we don't. Generally, you guys see very little retail projects because you can't do it, right? When we have the other exception, it's not relevant here, but when we have a tourism destination project, that's also an exception to retail. So, and we've used that in the past over time, particularly I think on some of the campground projects, right? Where we're bringing in people into the county, spending dollars here.
We did it with Farmcraft as well.
With Farmcraft, that's right. So yeah, we are doing that, and we're very consistent on that in the resolutions that we're doing. So I'm comfortable telling you guys that you can't control what they're going to audit, Jim, but I think if they ask the question, we'll have a way to answer it by our very own papers.
There's still some more work to be done on this application. Not necessarily a lot. I mean, we're just missing a signature here and there, but they have drafted up a seeker, but they have not gone to the local planning boards or the county planning board yet as well. So there's some local permitting that has to take place before we would fully approve it. But I just want to get, if the board's willing and will accept the application, I would just like the authorization to the public hearing so we get that out.
I have a motion to that effect.
That motion.
Favor?
We have this silly question, but just so I understand that, so the sales tax just will not be assessed to the construction materials and non-production equipment. And so they just don't pay. Well, who does pay? No one. I mean, the state just accepts them as a.
Right.
Okay, and we're just as a board proving that this is a legitimate project and we've reviewed it and it's real.
Yeah, and we have to report all this to the state as well.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
And since agenda was prepared, we have a new item, which we'll call 3C. Dealing with the alley cat project. I'll let Jim once again explain that.
Yeah, I think attached to the very last page of your report packet is a amended resolution that council put together at the 12th hour. Alley Cat is really interested in trying to close this thing out. So they can start, as I said, start removing trees and clearing property. So the first resolution that the board authorized gave them a 30-day window in which we could give them time to not only sign the project agreement, but also give us our 20% down and our 20% council fees down. The money didn't come. And the amendment or the resolution expired. Council reached out to their council and they said all they need is another week. Supposedly they had it wired to us, but they never showed up in our bank account.
Yikes.
So that's one of those projects where we're just sitting on it until we make sure everything is done. So this resolution extends the time period on this for a period of a week,
Mhm.
November 22nd.
You feel that it's a big group that they're just not catching the details, or are they having issues that this may not be a viable project for them?
I think it's a viable project. It just doesn't seem like the urgency is there to follow through when they say they're gonna do something, and I don't know why that is. Financially, I think they're strong, and I think, they have spent, I can't tell you how many millions of dollars getting this project to the point of where it is. We're not alone in this, by the way. I was asked to come down and speak to the Allegheny County IDA board this morning. Because they're anticipating getting much more revenue than we are for these wind turbines. They want to know what we're doing with our money, and so I spelled out all of our programs that we're doing. Yeah, our loan program, buying property, all the entrepreneurship programs and all that stuff that we're funding now because of the wind projects, and they don't have any money yet either. So the deal is, we're gonna get our supposedly 20% within a week of what's owed us on our fee, and so will council on his fee. And then the balance will come at closing. If the money doesn't come in, the resolution expires, and then we go back to the drawing board. Yep.
Further discussion. That's why I asked the first chat every time.
You haven't seen yours yet either.
That week started as of today, or was it
Oh, it's Friday, Joe, so it'll be a week from tomorrow. that they have.
tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been in regular communication with their council. The agreement is negotiated, it's ready to be signed. They provided us with the required insurance. So it's really just it's a fee remittance issue.
I think we probably could afford to wait a week.
I think we're all right.
I just. Any further discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the second amendatory resolution for Alley Cat. Make the motion. Second. In favor?
Aye.
The motion. Your report.
Thank you. Continuing to work with the hotel developer that built this one in Warsaw, who's now very interested in building one in Arcade. And next week we have a meeting with Empire State Development. We're trying to figure out how we can treat this as maybe essential goods and service business or IDA incentives, or maybe in tourism destination. So I've invited Scott to join us at the meeting, and we'll see if it's at 3:30, by the way, not 2:30.
Oh.
I should tell you that. And we're meeting with Empire State Development to see if they have any dollars they can throw at the project. But he said he loved working with us here in Wyoming County on the last one, and he wants to do it again. So we'll see what he says.
They're good guys to work with.
Yeah. A lot of people still kicking tires on the Pioneer Credit Building in Arcade and Perry. Nobody's pulling the trigger on anything, but it's been everything from, retail, maybe a redevelopment, to housing or whatever it might be. And it's just, I'm not sure where we're gonna end up with it. I've been trying to push some of the local business in Arcade, like Empire Distributing, or there may be Base Tech, take a look at it, because they've both been acquired by capital investment firms that are looking for, acquisitions and bringing more work into the Arcade community. And so at least we're staying on top of that, getting their attention about the availability of this building as well as the API buildings that are available there.
Jim, no issues has occurred yet on the north end of Castile, south end of Perry, as far as any hotel or any type of business, that property that's owned.
No, No, we own that, obviously that land over there, 2.65 acres. We did a feasibility study long ago.
Yep.
It did show that it would work.
That's why I brought it up. I remember that.
But of all the feasibility studies we did, because we did one for Warsaw, we did one for Perry, we did one
Yeah.
for Arcade. Perry's was the most marginal one. The challenge with hotels now is the financing of them. The banks are real eager to do hospitality yet. The pandemic really killed the last project that was almost at the finish line over there in Arcade. One of the interesting things that's coming out of the election is that all this talk about tariffs, and some of our manufacturers are wondering where things are gonna go. So some of them are developing like some plans to move in-house more manufacturing that's done in other countries. So we'll see where that goes, but they were asking about, what kind of IDA incentives could we have? We put up a new building, knock down an old one, all those sorts of things, so. If this tariff things gets put into place like a lot of these companies are thinking, then we may see some more growth in some of our arcade manufacturing, which for the most part, many of them are foreign owned. Japan, China, capital investment groups. The other, had a meeting this week with the owner of River Spring Lodge, remember him, and Carolyn and Dave Hamer. They want to start getting into weddings. They may come in looking for a little money to be able to do weddings there. They've never done that before. So they're looking for a little bit of cash to get started with, all the amenities that they would need to do that. So you can be looking for an application from them real soon. This JB contracting that the BAC provided a loan for, his business is taken off like wildfire. And he is now supposedly found a building in Warsaw in which he wants to move all of his operation under one roof. We have a call scheduled for tomorrow to find out a little bit more about it and find out if it might have some IDA eligibility to it, based on maybe they're manufacturing some of their own components or parts of things for the bathroom rebath franchise. I'm not sure, so I'm just trying to learn more about that, but it's something that is looking very good. I want to let you know we closed on the Keene Dairy loan finally, so they have their milk tank and it's operating fine. We did a ribbon cutting at Farm Craft over on Route 28 in town of Sheldon. If you saw the pictures in the Batavia Daily, you noticed that board member Gazowski was on hand, as well as IDA council and myself and Scott and
I
Jennifer.
didn't see that, but it was a good opening, a good crowd there. That was good to see.
I got a report from coffee was pretty cheap, but the place was jammed.
Yep.
Yeah, all week.
The parking lot was full.
It's on 28.
Yeah,
That's it.
I used that.
The tour, they're really not complete upstairs yet, are they?
No, they have my opinion is they need to start driving some revenue in there. They've been spending enough money, so they're not brewing their own beer yet. They're buying, all beer that's made in New York and offering that for sale until they get their brewing license and all that stuff figured out. But they're serving food, beer, wine. It's a really nice place, and it was a nice event. So the chamber did a good job on the ribbon cutting. You didn't make the cake too, did you?
I did make
No,
that
no, just checking.
from last time.
Just a couple quick updates on the business center, because we don't always report on what's going on with that. As you know, we finished the EPA part of the project for cleaning up the former MK Brownfield site in Arcade, with the exception of the underground storage tanks. So now the business center board authorized us to transfer the land to a designated developer, which we have under a contract. They have 6 to 9 months to get that project into the brownfield cleanup program for the additional remediation that needs to be done there, as well as some site work. If they fail to do that, there is a reverter in the agreement that we can take it back for $1. We put that in there to protect our interest in the property, because we just don't want to see it sit vacant for an extended period of time like it has for 20-some years. So if they're not going to be moving on it within a time frame, we might take it back and then go back out and RFP it to somebody else. And those brownfield tax credits for the program, if you get into it, are really attractive. So that is coming along pretty good. We're getting close to finalizing the transfer of the land. We're just waiting for some title searches and things of that nature. The business center also approved a horse sporting facility in the town of Gainesville on Moat Road. I now know where Moat Road is. I never knew we had a Moat Road before. But they are gonna be able to house about, probably 10 horses there initially, but they bought a farm and I'm not sure who was to own it, but they put in all new stalls. It's a young gal from Watertown that's moving back to here. She's got all kinds of equestrian types of training. It'll be more than just a boarding facility. She wants to do lessons and therapeutic things and for people as well.
What is her name, Jeff?
Her name is Tanya Grant. Her boyfriend's name is Paul Pryor. He works for the FFA and is a flight instructor. So he trains pilots and he works from home mostly, and I don't know how you do that. I guess simulated virtual, I don't know. But they're really excited about it, and so we're gonna get that program up and growing. The fast track program also graduated our last class in October, and those folks are well on their way to getting some business started. Some aren't quite ready yet, so we are feeding them into our business mentorship program. They need a little more hand holding and a little more molding, if you will, before they come and ask for some lending. And that is my report. I'll stop there.
Any other business? Before this meeting? If not, I'll schedule the next meeting for December 12th, 2024 at 2:30. And I entertain the motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Favor? We should correct our participation because we're not going to say we'll do it. Slightly.
Okay.
Well, wait.
Wasn't bad.
She was delayed.
So. You know, with the state, you know,